President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. As the chamber informs the party and the audience this morning, we will hear the testimony of a witness with the pseudonym TCW564. And if there is no matters to be raised by any party, the chamber will invite the witness to the courtroom. Defense Counsel Michael Canavas, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors, and good afternoon to everyone in and around the courtroom. Before the witness appears, I wish to bring a matter to the court's attention and to the prosecution's attention concerning this particular witness, and so we could see how we would proceed or how we should proceed in light of what we think may be an irregularity. The witness gave two statements to the Office of the Court Investigative Judges. The second statement was dated 21 September 2008. As you well know from previous experiences that we've had here in court, the practice is to have a lengthy interview, then to summarize, and then to read back the summary, and the summary becomes a statement. Sometimes the summaries are 5 or 10 pages long, even though the discussions may have taken hours and hours. In this particular instance, if we look at the second statement, which is E3/63, also known as D107/3, the interview begins at 9 o'clock and ends at 11. So it's a 2-hour interview. As part of our due diligence, we actually go and listen to the entire tape to see whether the tape is consistent with the summary and if anything pertinent was left out. In this instance, at least my colleagues, both Mr. Angodom and Somo Sani, both lawyers, listened to the tape, and it appeared that the witness was reading answers. In other words, it wasn't a conversation, it was a question being read, an answer being read back. And so we had the entire discussion, the interview, transcribed into English, so I could see. And what we see, both in English and in Khmer, is that the summary is the exact version as what is on the tape itself. The second interview, of course, is approximately, when you get through the preliminaries, the names and what have you, it's about 4 pages long. So in a 2-hour discussion, with only a tape of 10 to 12 minutes was generated, 4 pages of transcription. What happened during the other 48 minutes was the witness provided the answers, and then he was reading the answers to the questions. Now, it may not be the practice in other places around the world. I don't know what those practices are, but at least it would seem to me that if you're conducting an interview, it should be question and answer as opposed to reading the answers. Unless, perhaps, he was given the questions in advance, he read them, he wrote out the answers, and then read them back into the record. I don't know. But for us, it would appear that this is an irregularity. Now, we had a previous witness, Your Honors, as you may recall, who gave an interview, and it wasn't until he was questioned that it came to light that the day before, before going on tape, he had a full 8-hour interview, during which period he was shown documents and then went on record the following day with no mention of it on the summary. Now, we do think that this is a situation that should be clarified. The transcription came in about 10 minutes after 1 today. So I'm raising it as early as I was able to, in addition to with my colleagues, to see that this was an issue. And so I leave it to you, Your Honors, to decide how to proceed, whether you wish to ask the witness how it went or leave it to the parties to get into it. But I wanted to raise it so that there's no suspicion on the trial chamber's part that perhaps we were trying to game the process, that we were trying to take an advantage. We're raising it as quickly and as early as possible. But we think it's an irregularity. We want to go into it. And I think the prosecution would probably want to do the same, since they are, in all likelihood, going to rely on the second interview as well as the first interview if they need to refresh the witness's memory. Thank you.
The prosecution, you may respond.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank counsel for raising that matter at this time. I think it is premature a little bit, but I understand what he's saying. I saw the transcript when it was posted yesterday in French and looked at it, and it appeared to me to match the actual written statement. And I understand now that counsel are complaining because the recorded interview matches the statement. What I would simply say is we're going to question this witness. If there are any issues, it will come up in his testimony. I'm quite certain there aren't any, but I do appreciate counsel informing us of his position. And if it turns out the court needs to make any inquiries, certainly that's something that can be done. But at this stage, I think we should proceed with the questioning, and that's why we bring the witness into court. We will see what his testimony is here.
President, the Chamber has heard the observation made by the Defense Counsel regarding the procedure in making the written record of interview during the conduct of the investigations undertaken by the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges. In order to clarify the matter further, and since there is the presence of this particular witness, the Chamber will therefore invite the witness to enter the courtrooms to answer to some of these procedural matters as raised by the International Defense Council for Ieng Sari. Regarding the investigative stage, court officer, please invite the witness TCW 564 in, as well as his duty counsel. The President, good afternoon, Mr. Witness. You have been instructed by the court officer in order to allow you to respond to the question put to you by any of the parties. First, you need to hear the question, and you wait until you see the red light on your microphone. Then you can speak, so that your voice will go through the interpretation system, which will be interpreted into two separate languages used in this courtroom. Witness, can you tell the chamber your official name? Witness, good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Rojam Ton. I also have the name by P. Poon, and my alias is V. Jim. Question: do you know the Khmer language? Answer: I can do some reading and writing, but it is not that consistent. Thank you. Can you spell your name, the first name that you just gave? Answer: my first name is Rojam. Jam Ton. And the second name is P. Poon. Question: how do you spell your first set of name, that is Rojam Ton? Please wait till you see the red light on the microphone before you speak. The red light means your microphone is operational. The witness spells his name in the Khmer alphabet. Thank you. Mr. Rojam Ton, how old are you? Answer: I am 65 years old. Thank you. Where is your current residence? Answer: I am residing in Dong Village, Malay Sub-District, Malay District, Bontier Minh Chey Province. Thank you. What is your current occupation? Answer: I am a farmer and also a rice farmer. Thank you. What is your father's name? Answer: my father's name is Pa Tut Kwaik. Can you repeat your father's name? Please make it slower. Answer: his name is Pa Tut Kwaik. Thank you. And what is your mother's name? Answer: her name is Ru Cham Bech. And your wife's name? Answer: her name is Sreng Kim Lee. Thank you. How many children do you have? Answer: I have 4 children. Thank you. Can you inform the chamber your place of birth? Answer: I was born at Kait Village, Talao Sub-District, Andong Pech District, Ratanakiri Province. Thank you. Is it Andong Pech or Andong Mih Sub-District? Answer: previously it was known as Andong Pech, but it is now known as Andong Mih. Question: what is your ethnicity? Answer: my ethnicity is Charai.
The President, thank you, Mr. Rojam Ton. According to the report of the greffier of the trial chamber reported to the chamber yesterday, you have no relationship with the parties to the proceedings, including the civil parties and the accused persons. Is the report correct? Response: yes, it is. Question: this morning, the greffier reported to us that you already taken an oath at the court. Is that true? Response: yes, it is. The President: thank you. During the proceedings, as a witness, the Chamber wished to apprise you of the rights as follows. As a witness, you can reject any questions that lead to your responses in self-incrimination, the right against self-incrimination. As a witness, you have duty to provide testimonies. You are to respond to questions posed to you by the Chamber and the parties to the proceedings, except the responses that are self-incriminating as indicated above. As a witness, you are to tell the court, based on your experience, what you have witnessed regarding the events and facts to the questions posed to you by the judges and the parties to the proceeding. You shall only tell the truth, nothing but the truth. Do you understand this? Response: yes, I do, Your Honor. The President: thank you. My next question is, have you ever provided interviews to investigators from the office of the co-investigating judges during the last few years? Response: yes, I have. Question: now I would like to only ask you about the interviews you gave to the investigators from the office of the co-investigating judges of the ECCC, not other interviews. Have you ever given interviews, or have you ever been interviewed by people from the office of the co-investigating judges, and how many times were there? Response: I was interviewed twice. Question: do you remember when the first interview was conducted and where? Response: the first interview was conducted in Malay district, in Malay commune, Banteay Mien Chey province. Question: do you remember when exactly it was? Response: it was in 2007. Question: when was the second interview conducted and where? Response: the second interview was conducted at my home in 2008. I think it was in September 2008. The President, thank you. Before you come here, have you ever seen or read the record of the interviews you gave to the investigators from the Office of Co-Investigating Judges, the 2 interviews you just mentioned? Response: yes, I have read the records time and again, but I do not remember them all. I don't remember the details. The President, thank you. Based on your best knowledge and recollection, are the records of the interview relevant or consistent to the accounts you gave to the interviewees, the investigators, when the interviews were conducted at your home in Malay? Response: I have noted that the accounts reflect the records I gave to them during those 2 occasions. Question: during the interviews, if you can recollect, how were you asked questions? For example, were questions posed to you and you responded? Or were you fed with some answers where you could read from a written paper? Response: I told them what I witnessed, saw from the very beginning, starting from 1967 onwards. Question: when during the course of the questioning, were questions being posed to you, then you responded to the questions, then another question was put, and then another response was made? Was it the procedure during such interview? Response: questions were raised, responses were made. The investigators put some questions to me, and I responded to the questions I were asked. The President, thank you. When the interviews were concluded, what were the procedures before the conclusion of such interviews? Tell the court if you remember the procedure during the conclusion of the interviews. Response: after question and answer sessions, finally I was read out the documents. After the documents was read out and I agreed, then I gave my thumbprint on the papers. The President, thank you. Did you do that on both occasions or just on one occasion only? Response: I did in both occasions. Question: Do you still recollect the procedures during the interview regarding the interview, whether the record of your interview was kept? Response. Indeed, the interviews were recorded. However, the recording of the interview was not played back to me. The President, thank you. Do fellow judges of the bench have any question to put to the witness? If so, you may proceed. The President continues. During your course of testimony, you will be assisted by your duty counsel, the counsel assigned to assist you, arranged by the Vesu unit. He is here to ensure that your testimonies are not self-incriminating. In other words, the duty counsel is here to help you not to self-incriminate in your testimonies, unless, except you choose to do so, whether the responses are self-incriminating. So the counsel is here to assist you not to do that, but if you chooses to do it, it's up to you. According to the internal rule, (91) and the order of questioning to the witness, the chamber would like to hand over to the prosecution to proceed with the questions to Mr. Rochamton. Co-prosecutor. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors and parties to the proceedings, and very good afternoon to Mr. Witness. Mr. Rochamton, I have a few questions to pose to you. The first question is about the brief description of your early days when you joined the revolution. When did you join the revolution, and what made you join it? Response. I joined the revolution on the 24th of August 1963. The reason I joined the revolution, because I had a brother-in-law who advised me that we, minority group, should take the opportunity as provided to join the revolution. That's what I was advised. And I had to think about this for a while, and having consulted with my parents, finally, my parents agreed that I could join the revolution. Whatever other people could do, I could do the same. So I should not hesitate to join the revolution. So ultimately, I joined the revolution. Prosecutor: thank you. After you had joined the revolution, you became member of the CPK, or you became a member of the Youth League, for example? Response: I joined the revolution in 1963. By 1968, I joined the Youth League as a member. By 1971, I became a member of the party. Question: who inducted you to become or to join as a member of the party? Response: my brothers, who had observed my performance, my good performance, and based on this merit, I was allowed to join the Youth League and later on converted to become a member of the party. Question: you said brothers introduced you to the party, but who were those brothers? Response: they died already. Brother Man, who passed away, was one of them who introduced me. He died in 1974. And Brother So Hong introduced me to the membership of the party. It was in 1971. Question: do you still remember what roles Brother Man or Hong held? Response: I refer to Man as Brother Man. He was the secretary of the sector in Preah province. And So Hong, Brother So Hong, introduced me to the party as a member because he had been working with me for some time. He was a senior person and he had managed me all along and guided me to become the member of the party. Prosecutor: thank you. During the time when you had become the member of the party, had you ever attended any political sessions or study sessions where political lines or parties' lines were introduced? Response: yes, I had. I had attending sessions when I was in the revolution. Brother Man would teach us about the policy of the revolution, how to love the people, how to serve the people and the revolution. The other brothers also taught us the same. lessons. Question. You said other brothers also gave lectures in the study sessions. Who were these brothers? The President, witness, could you please be advised to hold on a little bit before you respond? Wait until you see the red light on your mic. You may proceed. Response. Brother Man was the one who taught me, and I stayed with him. Another brother was Brother Yam. Brother Yam was from Crutches. When he went to Ratanakiri, he went there to give lectures. Then there was another brother, I call him Uncle Number 1, Pol Pot, indeed, who also taught us. And Uncle Ieng Sari and his wife also taught me. Prosecutor, thank you. Did you ever attend any study sessions in which Mr. Nguyen Chia was giving lectures? Response. Yes, Nguyen Chia, Khieu Samphan were also seen attending the sessions where I attended. Question. You said Nguyen Chia and Khieu Samphan attended study sessions. Were they there as students or lecturers or presenters? Response. They were instructors teaching in those sessions. Question. Do you still recollect the study sessions? Where and when were they conducted? Response. The study sessions where Brother Man gave lecture were conducted at Okop River, at the Okop riverside or riverbank for 3 days. And later on, there were other sessions when Ieng Sari was teaching. Ieng Sari came to teach in 1967. It was a 15-day study session. It was in 1967. The sessions were conducted in Thai village, Bo Kao district, Ratanakiri province. Then there were other sessions chaired by Pol Pot at office 100. Sometimes he chaired the sessions, sometimes his wife would be the one who gave lectures. Then there were other sessions. Where Brother So Hong was the lecturer. And after Phnom Penh had been liberated, Kyew Samphan was also seen teaching in the sessions, and Ieng Sari. Yon Yat also engaged in teaching the sessions. Question. According to your best recollection, what would be the issues or the topics discussed during the study sessions? Response. We were taught mainly the general situation within the country, the local situation, and outside situation. Outside here referring to the international situation. And also we were taught about how to follow the principle of national democratic revolution and the organizational position or stance, and we were asked to criticize ourselves and be criticized through the live view sessions. The President, Council Kanawaz, you're on your feet. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. My apologies for interrupting. I'm told that one of the answers might have been misinterpreted in English, at least. Once the fall of Phnom Penh, he mentioned two particular names. If you could mention those names again, I don't want to lead the witness, but I'm told that one of the names was misinterpreted in English. The wrong name was given, that is.
The President, the prosecution, could you clarify the response with the witness regarding your question? So it tries to put the proper record in the transcript. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, could you please restate your response again? There might be a case of the misinterpretation, but we want to make the matter clear. You stated that the instructors after the liberation of Phnom Penh, who were those instructors or teachers? Answer. After the liberation, the first instructor was Kyew Samphan. It was at the Soviet Technical School. And the other instructor was Bong So Hong. He was teaching at the Ministry of Commerce, which was adjacent to the current Ministry of Defense. Yunyat was also the instructor at the Soviet Technical School. Question: Was Noon Chie an instructor at the time as well? That's what I heard in your previous response. Answer: Yes, Noon Chie was also an instructor. He was teaching at the Vihir Prakau. Thank you. Now I move on to my next question. Just then, you told the chamber that the teaching was mainly focused on the general situation both inside and outside the country. Can you elaborate further for the chamber what were discussed regarding the general situation inside and outside the country? Answer: I cannot recall every detail for that discussion. However, in principle, regarding the outside the country situation, they would tell us about which countries that supported our revolution and which countries opposed, and which country sympathized with our revolution and movement. So they provided a clear distinction between these different groups, different countries, based on their view at the international stage. Regarding the situation inside the country, it focused mainly on our movement, on the politics, to what level the people participated in the movement and support our resistance movement. Also, they discuss about the masses movement throughout the country to oppose our common enemy, and that they would mobilize the forces throughout the country as the core force at every level of strata in the country in order to continue our resistance movement. And once the movement is strong enough, we could achieve anything we want. And that was very clear. If we have both the masses movement, the military force, and the economic force, we could achieve our goal. Thank you. In that study session, were any documents provided to the participants? Answer: everyone received a document. All the participants received documents. For each study session, there were documents given to the participants, because by the end of the study sessions, once we absorb the knowledge, we would have to implement and to improve what we learned in our actual practice. Question: can you tell us the documents that you were given? What were they? Answer: those documents were about for instance, as I said earlier, about the situations outside the country. Another document reflected about our internal movement, our policy. For instance, about the size of our liberated zone. They also gave us the provisional liberated zone, also the size of the white zone, so that we can closely monitor the movement and the progress. As for the revolutionary life view, we were also given that document, and we were also given another document regarding the future measures. So, as a member of a party, we need to reflect on ourselves, what we need to improve, for instance. Thank you. Can you recall the titles of those documents? Were they mainly documents or were they books or magazines? Answer. During the study session, we wrote what we were taught in the class, but at that time the document was not given. We were only given the documents after the liberation, and later on there were the youth magazine and the revolutionary magazine, and also the front flag magazine, or Tung Renakse in Khmer. Question. You talk about the youth magazine, the revolutionary flag magazine, or the front flag magazine. When were they published? In what year? Answer. As I recall, it started from 1976. Now I'm going to ask you regarding your experience through your participation in the revolutionary movement and the CPK, in particular during the time that you were in Ratnakiri from the 1967 to the 1970. When you were in Ratnakiri during that period, did you meet the senior leadership of the CPK, and if so, whom and where? Answer. The first leader that I met was Bong Man, and then I worked as a bodyguard to protect him. And the second leader, in 1967, I met Ieng Sari. At that time, Ieng Sari had a letter that wanted me to deliver to the Vietnamese side. It took me a few days to locate the location. So it took me about 4 or 5 day round trip. When I first arrived at the Vietnamese site, they did not recognize me. However, upon receipt of the letter, they then respected and welcomed me. That was the second time. So that was the second leader after Bong Man. And the third leader was Pol Pot. That was in December 1967 when he arrived there. At that time he was sick, so I carried him to stay at a hospital, a Vietnamese hospital, and after he recovered, he returned to Office 100. And Ieng Sary was at Office 102 at the time. Thank you. When you made the leadership level, for example, Pol Pot and Ieng Sary, were you introduced to them, or how did you come to know them? Answer. As I said from the outset, my brother-in-law, Laon, who stationed permanently in Ratnagiri, and I knew them through that brother-in-law of mine. Mr. President, thank you, Mr. Witness and the prosecutor. The time is now appropriate for a short recess. We shall recess for 20 minutes and resume at 3 p.m. Court officer, could you assist the witness during the break, as well as the duty counsel, and have him back in the courtroom at 3 p.m.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ